That sounds great. Thank you, Adrian and ERP-VAR, and thank you to everybody that took time out for the presentation. Hopefully we'll give you some tips today to get you excited about accounts receivable, and that's a tough thing to do, but we do it every day. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. So I guess without further ado, we'll dig into the presentation. As Adrian mentioned, we're going to talk about 6 steps to developing a world-class business credit policy and a collections action plan. So we're going to give you some actionable things that hopefully you can take back to improve your business credit and the credit that you extend to your customers. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the problems that we're facing, to kind of get us geared up. And then we're going to wrap it up with some case studies and show you what some of our customers have been able to accomplish by implementing some of these strategies. So let's get started. From an agenda standpoint, you guys can sit back. I'll do all the driving here. Grab yourself some popcorn. We're going to start off with just an introduction of the problem around accounts receivable. We're going to walk through the 6 steps outlined here, wrap it up with the case studies, and then we're going to go right into a Q&A at the end. So from an introduction standpoint, there's a problem out there, and most of us don't realize that we have a problem when it comes to our accounts receivable. It's like hitting the nail here. You hit it square on the head, but the nail bends. We think that we have a handle on our accounts receivable, but we don't, and I'm going to show you why I know this is true. First of all, how important is your accounts receivable? For most organizations, especially companies that are very heavy on labor, like business professional service organizations, consultants, engineering firms, accounts receivable is typically your largest or your second largest asset in your business. And sometimes we don't realize that. And our ability to convert our AR to cash faster will increase our cash flow. Late payments are a serious problem. This is a statistic. It's not that old. Not much has changed since 2010. But approximately 39% of American invoices are paid late. And that's a problem, right? Net 30 means net 30, doesn't mean net 60. We offer a quality product and a service to our customers, and we expect them to pay on time. And we're going to show you how you can get paid on time more often than not. Some other industry statistics here. This is the reason why I know that a lot of you on the call today are struggling with this. Average days sales outstanding in the United States is at 61 days. And it may not sound too bad, but let's look at it and put it in perspective. Average payment terms, credit terms we extend to our customers in the United States is 28 days. That's more than double what it's taking our customers to pay us. That's a problem. Now, companies that implement systems like we're going to talk about today with our Anytime Collect can typically reduce their day sales outstanding by about 10 to 20%, and that's an average of 9 days of getting paid faster, and we're going to show you what that means to your bottom line. Some more statistics for you. The longer an invoice goes unpaid, the less likely that it will ever be paid or paid in full, and we all know this. This makes sense, right? If we have an invoice that's out there and we're not collecting on it immediately, over time, it's going to get to the point where we can't collect on it. And these are some statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau. If you have invoices that are 3 months old, 26% of them are uncollectible, or at least uncollectible in full. If they age to 6 months, 70% of them are uncollectible in full. If they go over a year, you're looking at a 10% chance you're going to recoup that money. So the lesson learned here is that we have to be very diligent about managing our AR, our number 1 or number 2 asset in our business. We have to be proactive. We have to establish credit policies and strategies so that we can avoid invoices that age to 3 months, to 6 months, and to 12 months. Those problems will never go away in totality, but we can do some very simple things that will significantly improve those numbers. On average, businesses write off about 4% of accounts receivable. That's annually, okay? Now, again, that may not sound like a lot to you. In some industries and some companies we work with, that's been as high as 9%, extreme cases. Most businesses we found, in the mid-market are around 1 to 2%, maybe 3 or 4%. But let's put it in perspective. If you're a $10 million company, and most of you on the call today are large organizations, probably doing about $10 million in credit sales, that means you're writing off, on average, $400,000 a year. Even if that's 2%, that's $200,000 you're throwing away every single year. What if there was a better way? What if there was a way you can get a 10% improvement in those bad debt write-offs? In our example here, that's a $40,000 savings year over year over year. A lot of you on the call may be engaged in industries where you have razor-thin margins, wholesale distribution, maybe very competitive manufacturing. $40,000 is not an insignificant amount of money. And for some companies, we've had even larger improvements. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of that here in a few minutes. All right, this is a question I always ask everybody, who handles your collections? And I get various answers, right? Some people, if it's a small organization, they have an office manager who's managing the duty of managing the collections process. Some cases it's an untrained bookkeeper that doesn't like to make phone calls. It could be a part-time Ar clerk that doesn't have the resources nor the training to understand what they need to do or how to do it effectively. In other cases, it's the CFO or the controller, and these are very well-paid individuals that are now responsible for credit collections. And more often than not, what I hear is that there's not one single person that is directly responsible and has the authority for the accounts receivable, credit, and collections within the organization. And that's just scary. So my next question is, how do you handle collections? And these are the answers that I get with a little humor mixed in. In almost every case, and you guys are going to relate to this, you print your aging report, you have a highlighter, you might have highlighters with different colors, right? You have your orange one, your blue one, your green one, your yellow one. You're going to make notes on that aging report, and then you're going to make your calls, make your notes, and then maybe the next day, the next week, you'll go back, review your notes, you have a new printout of an aging report, and you'll go back through and try to figure out who did I call, who didn't I call, who told me they were going to pay, who didn't, and reprioritize your activities. So that's typical in almost every single business we work with before they get on our application. A lot of other peripheral systems that they use, they might be using a CRM system to maybe do some documentation or maybe to look up contacts. They are probably using an email system to be able to communicate. And then obviously their accounting systems. They have all this information all over the place. The next thing that we hear is, and this is real, companies don't really manage collections. They let collections manage them. And they don't actually start working on collections until they have a cash problem, right? Maybe they can't make payroll. Maybe they want to make an investment in equipment or people or what have you. And they look at their balance sheet. They're looking at this huge AR balance. They're saying, well, if we could just get this money in, we could invest it in our business. I've had other people tell me, we don't have a collections problem. We just send them to third-party collections. And most of you on the call realize that that is not the best way to go about the problem. A collection agency is going to take, at the minimum, probably 10 or 20% of what they collect. In many cases, it's 40 or 50%. And a lot of you on the call aren't making that a margin. So every time you send somebody to third-party collections, even though it's getting it off of your plate and making it not, as much your problem, you're losing money every time you send them to collections. I've heard other customers say, we're going to just put them on credit hold and hope they pay. That's fine if you have a recurring customer that comes back to you time and time again. But that's not realistic, especially if you have a one-time customer and a lot of one-time customers. And then the last one, you could always call in a favor from your cousin Vinny. And that's, the best image I could find for cousin Vinny there. Good-looking guy, but you don't want to deal with him. So there is a better way, and we're going to show you what that is. Accounts receivable crisis. There are only 26% of businesses that have automated some portion of their accounts receivable credit collection management process, and this is according to the Credit Research Foundation. I will argue this is much, much larger with the audience we have on the call today. The CRF typically focuses on Fortune 1000 organizations, and a lot of those companies have a formalized credit collections department. The smaller the organization, the less likely they are to have formalized credit and collection policies, procedures, or departments and roles and responsibilities. So I would say with our customers, that number is probably closer to 70% than it is to 26. Now I want to show you what's possible here. In a traditional collections module, when you're printing out agent reports, you got your different highlighters at hand, you're going to spend about 20% of your time soliciting for payment. The rest of that time is going to be tied up prioritizing what you're doing, preparing the information, that's 30% combined right there, remediation, more managing the disputes, and then the analysis of what's going on is a 10% there. If you have an automated process, you can spend 62% of your time, almost 2/3 of your time, actually making phone calls and communicating with your customers. This is the goal. This is what we want to do. We can't resolve an issue if we don't have those conversations with our accounts. So now that we understand why we're all here today, let's talk about the 6 steps to creating a business credit policy and a collections action plan. So step 1, we need to identify where we're at today. So we need to do some homework. Every business is different. We're not going to actually give you a business credit policy template because there is no such thing. This is going to vary depending on your organization, and you need to understand certain things before you start to develop these strategies and these plans. First of all, who are your customers? Who do you sell to? And you may want to segment that. It may be by customer size, it may be by geography, it may be by the types of products that they buy. It could be by their industry. We have a number of customers that will serve, maybe government customers and commercial customers. So understand who you're selling to begin with. Next question, how effective or ineffective are you today? I always ask companies, what is your day sales outstanding? You should know this. It's one of your key metrics in your business. You probably don't know this number, and that's okay. We've got some tools that are available that we'll show you later that'll help you understand where you're at. What were your bad debt write-offs? What is your DSO? How many phone calls are you making? When are you making those phone calls? How late are your different invoices aging, based on different invoice sizes? There's a lot of analysis you can do right now just to figure out what you're doing. You can also benchmark yourself against peers in similar industries. If you don't know how to do this, the CRF, the Credit Research Foundation, is a great organization to go to. They publish, I think it's monthly or quarterly statistics. So you can find similar companies in your industry, similar sized organizations, and they will tell you what those companies, your peers, are experiencing when it comes to day sales outstanding as one example. And then you can find out how do you stack up against your peers. Okay? So step 1, let's do some homework. Now that we understand how effective or ineffective we are, now we understand our customer segmentation and a lot of the other things that go behind just understanding what we're trying to accomplish, we need to set some goals. And we're very metrics focused with our software and with our methodology. We're not looking to sell software. What we're looking to sell you are the benefits, right? So what kind of goals might you want to set? Big one, customer retention, right? Customer service and credit and collections management really go hand in hand. If we do a better job of managing credit and collections with our customers, we should be able to increase or improve our customer retention. A big one, very, very measurable, I want to decrease or reduce my day sales outstanding by 1%, or I want to get to a target day sales outstanding of X days over a period of time. We'll talk later about how one of our customers set some goals and we're able to blow them completely out of the water with the application. I want to reduce bad debt write-offs by 1%. I want to contact every customer with a past due balance within a certain number of days. I want to send reminders to all my customers with invoices due in the next 3, 5, or 1 day out. I want to resolve invoice disputes within 1 day, 3 days, 5 days. And I want to align my goals with my objectives to improve customer satisfaction, to improve the work environment for my employees, and to improve the corporate financial health of my organization. So set some goals up front. These are just examples. There may be other things that you want to look at. From that, what I always recommend is creating a corporate mission statement, if you will. And this isn't really from the company level. This is really around your credit collections department. And you can kind of tie this together with maybe a corporate mission statement. Things you want to look for. I want it to be a clear corporate direction, not something that each collector is doing independent of each other. I want to remember the audience, my team members that are in place managing credit collections as well as my customers. I want it to relate to specific credit collection goals, and I want it to align to my corporate mission. So this is really going to be kind of our map, if you will, to guide us on what we're trying to accomplish here. I've got one example here at the bottom: to deliver accurate and timely information and friendly business credit services to customers, delivering the best possible credit experience to the markets we serve. Accurate and timely information is going to help you. Friendly, right? Credit collection shouldn't be adversarial. We've provided a quality product and service to our customers. We need to resolve any issues why they would not want to pay us on time. And we want this to be a great experience for them. It doesn't have to be a redheaded stepchild in the organization. All right, so we know where we're at, right? We've done our homework. We know our DSO. We know how many phone calls we make. We know our aging. We know a lot of information. Snapshot it, right? It's sort of like going on a diet. When we start the diet, we need to know where we're at. We need to set our goals to where we want to get. We need to have a plan to get there, and then we need to measure our results as we go along. Now, how do we do this? Number one, you could look in your accounting system, right, and get some of this information, maybe take some very high-level snapshots of the information. What is my DSO at this time? What is my average aging for an invoice? Those types of information. I can also use dashboards, and we'll get to this later, but there are systems that are available to help you with kind of dashboards to track your progress. Obviously, reports are very helpful. And then I need to make a decision. Do I want to look at this as summary, very high-level information, or do I want to get granular into specific details? I always tell our customers, when you implement a methodology, a strategy, a policy, or a system, you start at the summary level, you see your improvements, and then you go into the details, identify other areas of improvement. And then have meetings, right? You need to involve people in these policies and procedures, get their input, and you do focus groups with your customers, talk to the people that are managing AR, talk to your financial team, talk to your sales team, and get a holistic view of what's going on. Okay? So now that we're measuring things, the step 3 is really the biggest piece, and that is to develop a credit team. Now, I'll start by saying this. Most of you on the call today, you might have 1 or 2 people that are directly responsible for credit collections in some fashion, and that's fine. You don't have to add this monstrous staff to manage this effectively. What you do need to do, though, is know who's available, what are their strengths, weaknesses, and who's missing. Okay? If you're a large organization, you can maybe balance some things out a little bit. But there are some very important decisions you need to make, right? Somebody needs to be able to clean this up and have the responsibility for credit collections. You need to align roles in your organization with the goals when it comes to your credit collection policies. You need to be able to give authority to certain individuals to be able to act and react to the information that they're getting. You need to be able to measure goals not only at the corporate level but also for individuals. And if you're giving authority, you're measuring them, you can also hold them accountable. You can also set it up so that you have a fostered team environment, people working collaboratively, smarter, working less, but very smart, and always having a backup so you're never stuck when the Ar Clerk decides to leave the organization, or when somebody's on vacation. Okay? Roles and responsibilities, these are some high-level questions. Who in your organization establishes credit for new customers? Who changes credit limits or credit terms? Who places or removes a credit hold? Who prints and sends the invoice? Who's responsible for calls, emails, and communications about past due accounts? Who is best in your organization in managing disputes? Who negotiate payment terms or plans when customers say they're experiencing cash?
Jim, I think we might have lost audio. Thank you, everybody, for holding on. I'm going to see if I can get Jim to go ahead and log in via telephone. This will just be a moment. Hold on one second. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you, everybody, for holding on. Just connected with Jim, and he's going to be logging in momentarily via the phone to correct this audio issue. Thank you so much for your patience again. Hi, Jim. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Ah, perfect. We were missing you.
Yeah, something happened with GoToMeeting, and I can't even dial back in. It won't even let me dial back in.
Well, you're live now, and we still have the attendees. Everybody's still on, waiting for you.
Okay.
And we can see your screen. Are you having any issues with the screen sharing? Because you're still in.
Okay, I think I'm good. How far back did you lose me on audio?
Just the last screen, probably 2 minutes of it.
Right here?
Yeah, we could start from here. I think we're good.
Okay. All right, so you guys should be able to see me okay. I apologize for that. I'm actually on voice over IP because I couldn't get the phones to work. All right, well, let's resume here. As I was mentioning, here are just a few ways that some of our customers divvy up responsibilities based on the roles within the organization. Now, if you're a small organization, you may not have all of these different roles defined, but most of you will, right? Most of you have a CFO. The credit manager could be your controller. You've got salespeople. You have an AR clerk. The collector could be the AR clerk, right? So these are just some ways that you might want to divvy up the responsibilities. From a CFO standpoint, really this is top level, right? Their goal should not be to get down to the details unless they need to. It's to provide the direction. Review and manage the goals and the metrics. Manage the credit team meetings. Manage those issues that do escalate to where they have to go to third-party collections or where you want to factor the invoices. Any credit policy changes will be the responsibility of the CFO, or anything that requires legal action. That person in the organization is also going to be responsible for any really excessive amounts past due or excessive days past due, because they're in a better position and have more authority to make decisions to be able to get that off the books and into the bank. The sales team, have them review past dues before they place new orders. Have them review and get all the information for the new credit applications. Have them work with the credit managers on disputes. A lot of times when we have disputes, it's not the problem with the sales team, but it's the handoff from sales to manufacturing or sales to distribution or sales to our field service team, or sales to our project team, or sales to accounting. So why not involve sales when there is a dispute? They have a lot of the information that is very beneficial to resolving that dispute, and then they can also learn from those mistakes so that going forward we can reduce those disputes. The AR clerk, again, can be either just the AR clerk, or they can work with as a collection rep. They're entering the information, they're printing the invoices, sending statements. If they're also a collector, they're going to handle all of your communication, email or phone, sending reminders, past due notices, making a decision whether they want to escalate things to the credit manager or to the CFO or controller, and then annually having a credit review with the accounts. Every single one of your accounts, you should have an annual credit review to talk about, how they're doing. Are they paying on time? Were there problems with invoices that have gone away or have cropped up? Just getting a really good feel for what's going on with the customer. Then if you do have the ability to have a credit manager role, again, this could be a CFO role or even a controller role. They're going to be the ones that actually approve and review credit applications. Maybe they're the ones that manage the disputes with the sales reps. They're the ones that make the decision who to put on credit hold, and they're going to conduct really the collection team meetings and also analyze some of the reports. So these are just some of the ideas on how you can divvy up different responsibilities to different people within your organization. Involve your sales team. Remember that payment and collection efforts are simply the final process in the completion of every sale. If I sell something and we don't get paid for it, did I really sell something? Credit collections too often reports to accounting. It really needs to be an integral part of your sales team. Could sales be more effective if specific customers have different credit terms or credit limits? Probably. Would customers pay on time or spend more money with your company if credit terms and credit limits were changed for them? Probably. Sales representatives should be talking to your customers more than credit collections, right? It takes a long time to build a relationship with your customer, and many times your sales reps are the only ones that ever meet your customers face to face. They have built the relationships. Get them involved in the process. The other thing that I've seen some of our customers do is that they commission their sales not on what they've invoiced, but instead on what's actually been paid. So get your sales team involved in the process. We're still on our resources here in our team. Knowledge is power. You can't just throw your employees out there and expect that they're going to know what to do. Train them. You can do internal training. There's consultants. There's mentors. There's college courses. There's all kinds of stuff available to you. There's networking you can do with different associations, professional groups, LinkedIn groups. Ask questions. We have these customers that aren't paying us on time for this reason. What are my peers? What are other businesses doing to get payment on time? If you have questions around different things in this area, ask the questions and then train your people how to be more effective. So now that we have our team in place, they're well trained, they know their roles and responsibilities, and we've documented them in our credit policy, we need to fine tune it. Some things you may want to do. Do I want to have assigned accounts or unassigned accounts? I'll give you examples why you might want to consider both. It's that Pareto principle. If I've got 80% of my revenue coming from 20% of my customers, if I've got 100 accounts that I deal with, I really want to pay a lot of attention to 20 of them because that's 80% of my revenue. Let my collector build a relationship with those 20 accounts, and then let the system, through automation, manage the other 80% until they get to the point where maybe they escalate up into their queue. You can have variable strategies by credit class, and what that basically means is I might treat my established customers different than my new customers. I might have different strategies in place for commercial customers versus government customers, however you want to segment your database. How often do I want to communicate? And that can vary by credit class or group of customers. What exactly am I saying in the content? I need to really take a good hard look. This is no different than marketing. We test marketing messages to see which one is going to be more effective. It's the same thing in our credit collections communication. Do I need to make changes to my team? This is a very hard one. You may have an Ar Clerk that's been with your organization a long time, but maybe they're just not on board with change. Maybe it's time to make a change there. Templates, scripts, document control, dispute resolution. There's all these things that you can fine-tune. Cash forecasting, broken promise tracking, escalations and rules. When do I escalate? How do I escalate? Who do I escalate to? Constantly go back and look at what you can improve within the process. Step 5, implement a system. This is where we come into place. You don't have to have a system, but certainly does make things a lot easier. I will tell you what not to do. Most of you on the call, all of you on the call have an ERP or an accounting system. They are not designed for credit and collections management. You send out the invoice, there's like this big dark hole that happens. It's like turning off the light, and you have no idea if that invoice has been called on, if a payment's been made, until you get that payment. So ERP systems outside of maybe making an account note, you're not going to have much. Some companies try to implement CRM. CRM is good for documenting what you've done, but it doesn't give you rules and workflow or best practices to tell you who you need to call, when, why, and how. It also doesn't have a lot of the peripheral accounting information that you need at your fingertips. And then never try to do this in Excel. It is just not an effective means for managing credit and collections. What do you need to look for in a system, whether it's ours or somebody else's? You're going to look for a rules engine that can tell you what to do and build an action plan for you based on those rules, building that work queue by collector. If you're larger, you want to look for something that has teams and hierarchies so you can manage the different credit teams. Something that has really strong metrics and reporting, document control, centralized data, so you have all your accounting information, all of your emails, all your phone conversations, everything in one place. Templates that you can tweak for your customers, call scripts, and then you want to look at the advantages of automating. This is more than just a file cabinet where you store stuff. This can be a very strategic piece of software to help you get some significant improvements in your bottom line. Now, I just want to walk through some of the screenshots within our application, Anytime Collect. This is our dashboard. Over on the left, we have, it actually scrolls down quite a ways, so there's more metrics on it, but what is my DSO, my current aging, average days to pay by different invoice amounts. And then if I go over to the right, I've got my action list. And when I log in as a collector, I can see everything that I need to do, and this is based on how I've set up the system. So how many times do I need to make a phone call? Who am I calling? I can drill down on those hyperlinks within that grid, and it gives me an action list to complete. My goal at the end of the day is to have no actions left. I complete them. The system runs the next day. Invoices now age, they cross over different thresholds in my rules, and the system creates a new to-do list for me every single day or every single week. Communications, this is a sample of our communications screen. From here, I can make notes, I can view contacts, I can log results of phone calls, I can set follow-ups, I can escalate follow-ups to different people. I can review invoices, mark them as in dispute, mark them as resolved. I can send emails, I can view attachments, make attachments. I can log expected payments and track broken promises against those payments. Everything in one place. Account detail. At the bottom, actually kind of there in the middle, I've got an access to a PDF copy of the invoice, the cash receipts, credit memos. I can view that information. Sort of like a statement of account. I can make my communication. And then we have a drop down on the top of the screen that gives me information about the customer's credit. When were they established? What's their currency? What's their credit limit? Available credit? Are they in credit hold? Days past due, oldest invoice, all this information. History on the account, recent payments, recent invoices, contacts. Everything I want to know about a customer right here within my fingertips. Communications history. When were they called or emailed? Was there a follow-up? Was there a dispute? Was it tagged to an invoice, meaning it was a communication regarding a specific invoice? Was there an expected payment on it? Was there an attachment? Did I send an email? Did I receive an email? All these things are available just by looking at the screen here, and I could save settings on all the grids and really get some really strong intelligence out of the application. Step 6 is one slide. It's continuous improvement. The only thing that is constant in life is change. The only thing that is constant in business is change. It's Heraclitus. We have to understand that things are going to change. We're going to bring on new product lines that cause problems with credit collections. We're going to bring on new customers. We're going to expand into different markets. We're going to grow as a business. We're going to shrink as a business. We constantly need to be looking at our credit collection policies and procedures and making sure that we're reactive so that we're not falling into bad habits. A couple case studies real quick. On the Sage ERP side, I know a lot of you on the call are using Sage ERP solutions. We have a customer called Systems Maintenance Services. They have 4 collectors in 3 states. They're using the Sage ERP product, which had virtually no collections functionality within it. Using decentralized systems and spreadsheets, no management reports, and at the time, they had 2,000 customers and were doing about 3,000 invoices monthly. So a pretty significant customer. Inconsistent calls. They didn't know who was calling who, when, or why. It was just a mess. At the end of the day, their days sales outstanding was at 67. Not very good. They used Anytime Collect for 1 year. 12 months later, we'll get it by numbers here. They started with 67. They had actually set a target of 55. They wanted to get that down to 55. They actually got that down to 49 for a DSO with Anytime Collect in 12 months. Now remember, they had 2,000 customers. If you exclude 2 of them, just 2, their DSO was actually down to 40. That means that they were able, excluding those 2 accounts, to get a 40% reduction in their DSO, meaning their cash was in the bank, not in their AR, 27 days faster. To make it even better, they were able to collect more money that year in 2012 than the invoice, because they collected almost everything they invoiced in 2012 and were able to go back after the backlog of outstanding amounts from previous years. Absolutely amazing results. So a quote from one of our Microsoft Dynamics customers: Anytime Collect is a much better system than the $1 million system I used before in the areas that it performs the same tasks. I would highly recommend it to any small to mid-sized business that needs a powerful tool for the collection staff. Kalmbach feeds. So we work not only with the Sage platform, we also work with Microsoft Dynamics. We also work with QuickBooks. This is one of our QuickBooks customers. QuickBooks customers represent about 40% of our customer base today. Certainly not user-based. They typically are smaller, but there are a lot more of them out there. Health Day, also known as Scout News, says, I can easily give a pretty accurate real-time aging report to management regarding cash flow, and I don't have to manually recalculate balances. We've reduced the number of invoices that aged to 120 days by more by at least 10%. They've actually gotten a lot more benefits out of the application since then. We also work with other ERP applications. This is one of our Infor customers, Horsepower. Change is always hard, but Anytime Collect really delivers on its promises, and their people have the temperament to be good and patient teachers. I haven't had to bother them for anything in a while, and I know they're always there if I need them. Well, customers, they don't bother us. We're here if they need them. But the system's very easy to implement, very easy to use, and once they're implemented, it just becomes a tool like Excel that they can continue to use and get value out of. A couple more points here before we wrap up. There is on our website an ROI calculator. Go to anytimecollect.com and you can enter this information to find out if you can save some money. It will also help you identify some of these metrics on where you're at from a DSO perspective. So you go in, you basically put in your current AR balance in the first field there, your annual credit sales. So if you're selling on cash and then you also have credit sales, just put in the amount there for credit sales. There is a cost of borrowing money that's typically at least 6%, sometimes 8 or 10%. You can leave it as the default. Put in the amount that you've written off in the last 12 months. Go in and then identify in the white fields below, what do you expect to get from a DSO reduction? You're going to get 15%, I guarantee it. That's the default. What's your bad debt write-off reduction? You're going to get probably 15, 20%. If you want to be more conservative, you can put 10% in there. Go down to the very bottom, put in the number of users that you would have within the application. These are named users, 1 or 2. Click the Calculate button. It's going to tell you where you're standing from a DSO perspective, what you're spending on AR financing costs, how much you're writing off, and what that percentage is. And then below, it's going to tell you what your new DSO could be, your annual savings and financing costs, your annual savings and bad debt write-offs, and then it's going to show your total savings, your ROI, and your payback in months. Most of our customers are getting a payback in about 2 months' time, so very significant improvements. And that's not even looking at all the other benefits of the system by streamlining and automating things that your employees are spending a lot of time with today. So I apologize for dropping off the audio earlier. I guess while we hand it back over to Adrian to open it up for questions, I just want to point out that we do have a white paper on this topic, and we will be making that available to you. It actually has a lot more detail on implementing these strategies and developing these action plans. So we'll make that available to you. And then I have my contact information up on the screen. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to give me a call, send me an email, and I'll try to answer them for you. So with that, we're going to kick it back over to Adrian.
Thank you, Jim. Excellent presentation. No problem falling off. Those technical difficulties sometimes happen. It keeps it exciting for everybody. You never know what's going to happen, right? Change is always constant.
Yep.
So I do have a poll open for the audience. If you could take just a moment just to answer this poll, it'd be great. I see that 67% have voted. So if we could get the remainder of the audience just to take a moment, and let me see if we have any questions. How long does it take to implement this solution typically?
That's a great question. Typically, you're looking at anywhere between half a day and upwards of maybe a day to 2 days. With the new version of the software, we're actually delivering it with some pre-built templates and pre-configured settings to try to reduce that amount. We're also going to be delivering it with built-in product tutorials. So if you have a question on how to use the software, you can watch the tutorials. So the implementation, we actually expect to get that down to the point where a customer can almost implement it on their own. And then, of course, we're always there if they need help.
And do you have an integration with Epicor?
We do have an integration with Epicor. It would depend on the product line. If it's Epicor ERP or what they're calling Epicor 9, we actually have a private label agreement with Epicor where they resell our software. They don't call it Anytime Collect. They call it Epicor Cash Collect. And you can contact your Epicor representative, or you can contact maybe your Epicor partner and talk to them about that application. It's called Epicor Cash Collect, but it is the same application. If it's one of the other Epicor products, we have a generic interface that we can use to integrate to some of the other Epicor solutions.
And how does this integrate with Sage 100 ERP?
Very good question. So we have a couple ways to integrate depending on the accounting systems. So with the Sage products, with the Epicor products, with the Microsoft products, and with QuickBooks, it all depends on the application. With Sage 100 specifically, what we do is when you do the configuration, you pick the system you're integrating with, which would be obviously Sage 100, the version, etc. And then what happens is there's a small piece of software, very small piece, that'll be installed on your network on a server that has access to the Sage 100 database. And actually that's the same with the other applications as well, just a matter of how we get to the data, whether it's ODBC or a direct SQL connection. Well, without getting too technical, what we're basically doing is scheduling a data extract to get the information out of your accounting system, moving it into our database, whether that's on Microsoft SQL Azure, which is a hosted SQL database, or SQL on-prem within your organization. And that sync is basically like setting up a Windows job. Once you set it up once, it just goes out there and does it as frequently as you want. Most of our customers are syncing once or twice a day. We have some customers that are synchronizing the data every 15 minutes. Okay. Once the data is uploaded into our application, The rules engine runs, generates the actions for you, and you've got all the new information available to you to determine what you need to do.
And you might have covered this already, Jim, but we do have a question. What is the cost?
That's a good question. The cost, we actually have rolled out some new pricing, which makes the product more attractive on the low end if you're using QuickBooks. The pricing starts at $50 per user per month, and that is a named user. That's on a subscription. If you choose to purchase the application, I'd actually have to look at that because I can't remember off the top of my head. I can tell you for most customers on like a Sage ERP platform or a Microsoft or an Epicor platform, you're going to be looking at a purchase price of around $2,500 per user. And then, of course, you got some implementation fees. I would say that you could probably expect a budget somewhere between maybe $3,000 and $10,000, depending on the number of users. And again, you're going to get the ROI within just a few short months. If you have any questions on the pricing, contact your partner, and we can actually get you a specific price based on your ERP system and based on your user requirements.
And when you say partner, you mean your representative that you work with who helped you implement or train you on your current ERP system?
That's correct. And if you don't know who that person is, that's fine. You can call us. We know a lot of the partners, so we'll be able to help you identify that. We'll call your partner. We always try to work in tandem with your Sage or your Microsoft or your Epicor reseller because they know your system, they know your organization better than we do. And by having them involved in the implementation, it's going to save you a lot of heartache, and it just makes the process go a lot faster.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate you taking time out to talk to us today, and thank you, audience, for attending and taking time out to listen. With that said, Jim, I don't see that we have any other questions. I would like to point out that Jim does have his contact information on the screen, so please do reach out to him with any questions. And we just appreciate you attending today. Jim, would you like to close with anything further?
No, I think the only other thing I would close with is hopefully this is more than just a presentation. Hopefully you got something out of it. You don't have to buy our software in order to make some improvements in this area. We'll go ahead and send out this white paper to you. I just encourage you all to take time to look at and try to implement some of these changes in your organization. You know, and if and when it comes to the point when you have an interest in automating some of this, give us a call and let us see what we can do for you.
All right. With that said, thank you so much, everybody, again, and have a wonderful day. We will be in touch. I did record this webinar, so if anybody's interested in receiving a copy of the recording, please send me an email, and I'll get this off to you. Adrian@erpvar.com. And Jim, thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you, Adrian.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.